yeah, I guess just how you conduct yourself. Everything before pulling the trigger and then everything after as well. I'd never butchered an animal before, or didn't know sort of how to treat the meat once it is butchered. So I wanted to do a course, so I went along and did the course. If you do have the opportunity, I was presented this opportunity to be involved in something that I care about. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to assume that I'm just there because it's token because I'm female.
I'm sure death's probably not new to you, but how did that feel the first time you physically yourself shot an animal? Welcome back to another episode of Accurate Hunts, A Life Outdoors. We have tonight with us Cass joining us from Maribyrnong.
That's right, yes.
Look, I said it right. Cass Fleming. Cass and I met on the side of a dusty road at Nundle State Forest, I think officially the first time. Yes. That's right.
Yes, we did. Let's drive along. Saw some interesting characters in camo on the side of the road.
Yeah, well, our camo obviously wasn't working.
No.
It's an awkward situation when you're in a state forest and you're walking along the road with a rifle. I feel that I'm torn between hiding, because it's just easier to hide, or, you know, you're not doing anything wrong, but avoiding the confrontation by hiding.
I think if you hide, you have to make sure you've done a really good job at it, because it's way creepier to have someone trying to like hide and not being successful rather than just going about their business.
That's right. It's a half. Yeah, you can't do it by half, because if you do it by half, it's really creepy, and then if you do it really well, it's really effective. I think I can't remember who it was told me that. I think it was one of the boys from one of the other podcasts. They were saying that they got pulled up by someone on the road, and the cops ended up turning up. They were in a state forest; they weren't doing anything wrong, but the ruling was that she said that she felt threatened because he had a firearm.
Right.
He didn't threaten her.
Yeah.
But she felt threatened, and that was enough to warrant, a warning from the cops, because she felt threatened.
Goodness. That's a tricky situation, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you're not doing anything wrong. It's like shooting a bow and arrow in a public place, like at a field or sports field or something. As long as no one's physically feeling threatened by it, it's completely legal.
Yeah.
So, but we weren't just walking around the forest in Nundle. That's not how we stumbled across each other, but we were up there for the Australian Hunters Club annual camp last year. Right.
I was expecting to see hunters, not confronting at all.
No, you didn't feel threatened.
No, I did not.
But, you lost. You came from the wrong direction.
I was on my way back from a road trip to Fraser Island. Yeah, so
that's right.
I was heading south. Yep.
And you had some mechanical issues.
I did, yes. My car, Ron, his name's Ron because he's Burgundy, his radiator went on the way down on the side of the road. Yeah, so that took a couple of days to fix.
Cost you a day. And I think on the way out you had a flat tyre too. Yeah.
I did on the way out. Yes, you came to the rescue and a few other boys came along.
You had all the
just
tools.
Just at the right time. Yeah. I did, and was on my way to getting it done, but happy to receive some help to gather the logs and jack it all up, because it was a bit unstable ground, but we got there. Yeah, good little team project.
It was. That was a good team event too. That one.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, there was. It was funny circling back to that, and I've just been playing with this in front of me, and not related to the conversation at all, but I have a little pocket knife here that a good friend of mine made for me. He's got my name engraved on it. Dr. Yannick made for me. I think you can buy a kit, and he sort of handmade the scales. But that there is actually the shin bone from the red stag that I shot on that trip.
Oh, how good!
So I sent him the bone.
Yeah, great way to commemorate.
And he made he made the wife and I a matching set out of it. So
how beautiful!
Yeah, looking forward to that. So Cass is with us tonight for multiple reasons. One, because she's really enjoying hunting and the journey that she's on, and we'll get into that. But mostly you might recognise her from everywhere on Facebook in the last, 36, 48 hours or so. 3
days.
Yeah. And, Cass was featured in an article that was done by the ABC. Rhiannon, I can't remember the last name. Stevens was the journalist that produced quite a well put together and topical piece about the influx of new hunters and the way things are going down in Victoria specifically, But it was nice to see, and this is the general consensus of the comments, is it's nice to see a mainstream media do a, nice fluffy piece about hunting, and it wasn't, spun in any particular bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great project to be a part of, and when I was first considering it, when I was approached about it, I had obviously my hesitations because what you sort of hear and see in the media generally, but I asked the question: is this pro hunting, anti hunting? What's the general vibe of it? Rhiannon had said it's balanced view. It's just giving an account of the story of my intentions and why I got into hunting, what my motivation was. But I think it actually turned out to be really positive. So it was promoted, I guess it was promised to me that it would be at least neutral, not anti-hunting, but I feel as though it had a really positive spin on it, and it was a really, really nice take on why people are passionate about hunting and what it means. So
very happy she did a really good job, pulling it together. Yeah, but you guys, I mean, there was yourself, Wally Chang, Pete from Ball Bore, and Chris Waters.
Yeah.
And that was, it was a good mix of, newbies, people on their way, more experienced people with Pete. And I think that was a really good cross-section to show that part of the industry.
I agree. I think Rihanna did a great job tying it all together and sort of the different components of a hunting journey and different avenues that you can go down if you're looking to do hunting. But I thought also more broadly within the whole episode of Landline, the ABC did a pretty good job at curating the whole idea of those, the fruit and where your fruit comes from, and like just opening people's minds up to more supply chain and how you access the food that we eat. And meat is definitely a part of that.
Alternative options. Yeah.
Alternative options, yeah.
Was Rhiannon, did she make clear her personal opinions at all?
She didn't. I don't think she was very curious, I think, is more her stance on it, was that it's not something that she had a background in, and was just really wanting to see what it was all about. And she was really great to spend a day with, actually. So she came out for a hunt with me. I picked her up. We went out in the high country, so we stayed in Benalla, and that was our base, so that I could pick her up first thing in the morning. She jumped in the car with me.
And a cameraman?
No, just her. So she came with just all the equipment herself. We jumped in the car, drove a little way into the bush, and then went out for the day. So she was stalking around the bush with me, documenting the whole things. We had like little chats, little whispers in the bush, which was really nice. And it was great. And then on the drive there and on the way home, that's when we got to have, some just general chats about ourselves and our lives and what we're all about. And it was a really nice experience, actually. So,
is that your first time being on TV?
Yeah. First, yes. I have been in a movie clip, what do they call it? A video clip, like a song video clip.
Yeah.
In the past as an extra. But no. It was
not as the lead singer?
Oh, no. No, it was, someone I used to work with, their daughter was like a producer or something, and they're like, we need extras. So no, yes, definitely my first time of being front and centre on TV. Yeah.
Did you think that in your first time being on TV, some of your first words would be, and here you have deer poop?
I didn't, if you had asked me before I started hunting, like, what will I be on TV for? It probably wouldn't have been my guess. But, and it's funny, actually, because prior to hunting, I never would have thought it could be so exciting to find poo. Like, it would not have entered my consciousness that you could be like, oh my gosh, like, there's sign, I'm on the right track. There's definitely deer here.
You don't have any kids, do you?
I do not, no.
No. So it's just, I'm on my third now, and he's 4.5, nearly 5 months, and my camera roll, not so much on this one, but the first two, is poop. Like, it's just an exciting thing with children. It's different styles of poop, colours of poop, consistencies of poop, how far they can get it up their armpits. Poop's an exciting topic for those types of things. But it was a good representation of beginner hunters, and then it broke into Wally talking about, why he does what he does on his farm. Yeah. And I haven't met. Oh, actually, I did meet Wally down at Deer Expo when he was down there just chatting with Chris. But I seem to think that, he's just an older guy that is really enjoying learning in life. And he's like, well, why can't I just get other people to learn with me at the same time?
Yeah.
And that's why he's hosting what he's doing. So you went and did a course at his place?
I did, yes. So that was my, sort of first experience in learning about deer hunting. So I've grown up around firearms. They've never been foreign or exotic, but I wasn't into hunting. I knew of hunting, never had a problem. Probably actually had curiosity about it when I was younger, but not deliberately pursued it to get into it. And so I was doing long range rifle shooting. So I was pretty confident that if I found a deer, so I was shooting out to 900 meters. And well, at 900, it's quite a big target, but like I was quite proficient within 300 meters. And I thought, well, deer are going to be closer than that. So I was pretty confident that if I found a deer, I'd be able to take an accurate shot. But it was everything before and everything after pulling the trigger that was a real mystery to me. So how to find deer, what are the ethics that go along with hunting, and the etiquette as well, in terms of when if you get to know other hunters, and I guess just how you conduct yourself. Everything before pulling the trigger and then everything after as well. I'd never butchered an animal before, or didn't know sort of how to treat the meat once it is butchered. So I wanted to do a course. So I went along and did the course with Naturally Sufficient, which was excellent. It was a whole weekend, and we did all the different legal considerations, treatment of firearms, the butchering. We looked at recipes and the whole process, I guess, which was really great. I've also done a course with the ADA. I'm a member of the Australian Deer Association as well. And
member? Aren't you on the committee?
I am on the committee, yes. I do like to get involved. So, which is very exciting also.
So head badge maker?
I have offered to make badges, yes.
Side note, Cass made some badges for the Hunters Club catch-up.
Yeah.
We did. That's a little side note. But yeah, so you worked your way into ADA and then you did a course with them. They do a beginner hunter course too.
Yes, which was actually really fantastic the way. So the one I did with Naturally Sufficient was before I'd actually gone out myself into the wild. So it was really a good starting place. But then I did go out a number of times. I did a guided hunt with Pete from Boar Adventures, who you mentioned earlier, which was fantastic. So it's not, I guess, if you don't know what a guided hunt is, you might think that it's like what you might see in movies where someone takes you and puts you on an animal and all you do is pull the trigger. Certainly not the case with Pete. He is very educational. So we would drive along and then he'd point out the window at where there was marks, where you could see tracks, or he'd point out the poo and talk about the wind and what we're doing. And as we were doing the process, just putting, I guess, the practical elements in place with the theoretical elements that we'd learnt, which was really helpful. We did get close to deer a couple of times when I went out with him, but the wind was not kind and didn't get close enough to take a shot. Anyway, then I'd gone out a number of times. I had I've so far had one successful hunt, which was on a trip away with some guys that I'd met through the ADA. And so that was great. I had my real world experience. And then I did the course with the ADA. And it was actually really nice because some of the things that I had learnt prior were in the course. So it was, I guess, handy to see just how much I have learnt in the last 2 years. But then there were heaps of new gems as well. I think you'll never stop learning, and I certainly won't ever feel as though I have reached a point of all knowledge. So it was nice to receive all these new little pieces of information that I could assimilate in with my current knowledge and just keep building. And meeting new people as well is always great. I really enjoy the hunting community, so like to be a part of it. And it was a weekend away where you get all your meals cooked for you and get to just hang out and have good times.
Sounds like a pretty good little holiday.
Yeah, it was great.
At the start there, you spoke about etiquette and how that works as being a new hunter. Do you want to share a little bit about that and what your feelings are on that? Because I feel like at different stages of I don't want to call it a ladder, maybe different stages of progress, the etiquette changes a little bit because you've got, I want to say, people more experienced than you and then people less experienced than you, and then your responsibilities to each as you travel down that chain. Yeah.
I guess I don't like to ever assume what a situation is. I like to be quite explicit with what I'm hoping for and also like to know what other people's expectations are. And because there are outfitters that will take you out and you pay to go on a guided hunt, or, there are some experienced people that have probably just as much or even more knowledge than those people, which some people want to take people out as friends and some people do it as a business. So I didn't want to ever be asking anyone to give me their knowledge for free unless it was something that they're wanting to do as part of a community. So it's like that kind of the fact that for some people it's a day job and for some people it's a hobby, not wanting to sort of blur any lines or make assumptions about what was happening. But then also as well, if someone were to share knowledge with me, that might be knowledge that they've built up over a really long time that's specific to an area that they may not want to share. I think a lot of people do share their knowledge and that's really lovely when they want to, but I just think that it's almost, that's their IP. They've done the work to gather that. And if they're wanting to share that with me, my assumption is unless they say to share it further than myself, I wouldn't want to do that. So it's just making sure that I'm, I guess, being mindful of the community that I'm coming into and wanting to be respectful of everyone in it.
We spoke today when we were getting ready for this, but we spoke about my thoughts on the way I think the community is changing in that passing on of knowledge. And I think that, I'm a first generation hunter. It's no secret. I've spoken about it a lot, and I think that's quite prevalent in today's community. But I think that that's affecting the way that we share knowledge in a good way, yes. Meaning that traditionally that knowledge was passed from, father to son or uncle or great uncle or whatever, usually a male influence older in life. And then that's passed on through the lineage of name, son, nephew, whatever, and then it's expected that it stays there until they pass it on to their sons. But I feel that with this increase in first-generation hunters that don't have that, we're leaning on social media and blogs and forums and TV shows and YouTubes for our information. But once we get involved in a community and we find some other first-generation hunters, we all seem a little bit more excited to share that knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I think it's a positive. I'm not sure where it's going to head long term, but I probably wasn't like that initially because I felt a bit guarded about my information because that's what everyone did. But now it's really turning a corner, and I think it's and we see it there's an Australian Hunters Club chat for members, and someone will put up, hey, have you ever hunted in X? And someone will message them or put a message up and say, I've sent you a PM, let's chat. And, that just doesn't, I just don't think that's the way it was, and I think that's the way it is now, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes.
Oh, absolutely. And my experience has been that most people that I've had chats with have been happy to share, not always explicit details about their location necessarily, but a lot of, information about how to best hunt or different tips. And I think there's a lot of 1%ers that you gather along your journey that will ultimately help lead you towards success. So I've had really good experience. I guess I just don't go in expecting that people will just hand me all their knowledge, but like as you get to know people and then you're part of the community, then there is that sense of camaraderie and everyone wanting to sort of work together, which is really nice. And I feel a personal responsibility to equip myself. So, I've done a lot of my own research and I've done the courses and read different resources to try and find my own information. But there's something really nice about being able to share the journey with other people, with like-minded people. So it's not just about, going in and trying to get all their knowledge. It's about becoming friends and having shared experiences, which I find really enjoyable. And you mentioned before about, I guess, like the changing landscape. And I'm always really mindful of not wanting to discount anyone else's experience in their hunting journey. So, because sometimes people talk about hunting and how they've copped a lot of flack in their hunting journey. And so, that's unfortunate that has been the case. In my case, most people that I've talked about my hunting with, most non-hunters that I've talked to about, they've been more curious than anything. And obviously there's some people that are not interested in talking about it, and that's fine. I don't feel the need to convince anyone of why hunting is great. But a lot of people are just, curious. How did you get into that? That's surprising. What's that all about? Or which is really, really nice. And I hope that more and more hunters have that experience as they're going through their journey, so that it's not, I don't see it as taboo. I talk about it very matter of fact. If someone's like, what are you up to on the weekend? I'm going out for a hunt. Or, I, made a curry and it had venison and it was delicious. And I don't assume that people will have a negative view of hunting, but I know they might, but I'm not going to make that assumption.
I had a client the other day, and I just in conversation, just fencing related client, and I said, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And he leant in and he said, "Oh, I'm a magistrate." Okay. It's just like what you were saying then. Oh, I'm going hunting. Like, it's normal. I don't know why he felt the need to particularly whisper that.
Yes.
It's not like he'd seen me, at his work before in front of him fighting a case or anything. But, I'm always pretty loud and proud about what we do. And have you used your food to, share with non-hunters at work or anything?
Not so much. I guess like I haven't harvested a lot of meat myself, in that I've shared it with friends and family, but not I haven't had it in the quantities, I guess, that I have taken it into work. But it's certainly something that I would do in the future. Yeah, probably something that's really like palatable, maybe some sausage rolls or something that's just little bite-sized, little morsel to just, get people started.
Yeah, I wouldn't say confused, but I try to, when I'm introducing food like game meat to non-hunters, I stick with something they already know. Like you said, sausage rolls.
Yeah.
And just change one ingredient. Just change the protein.
Yeah.
Don't go with something crazy and say, oh, this is, backstrap stuff with mushrooms that I've harvested and found myself in the forest. And that's, that's a bit confronting for new people.
Bit of tongue, just like slithered off and with a bit of cheese.
Yeah, it's not something I've ever eaten, tongue, I don't think. I've ever gone down that path.
I haven't either, but at one of the camps that I was at recently, one of the guys was boiling up a tongue and then slicing it off and, I don't know, garnishing it with something.
Apparently it's really yum. The same with heart. I mean, I have eaten it. Yeah. It's not one of the ones I go for first. I was just in Darwin 2 weeks ago, and there's a picture of the client holding a buffalo heart, and this thing is just ginormous. It's like the size of a dinner plate. That's like a whole meal in itself. With the circling back to the community side of things, part of I'm going to mention Chris again, but Chris is the reason that you and I met originally, I suppose. He started the Australian Hunters Club for certain reasons, and one of those main reasons was to start a community of like-minded people, and it's created like a this, when you say like-minded, we have one thing in common, which is hunting, but it's such a broad spectrum of knowledge base and skill level. And one thing I really like about it is people will have the opportunity to leave at any time, and most of the people that do that are ones that say, I didn't get anything out of it. And I think you are as well. We're on the admin side of one of the Facebook pages attached to that club. And one of my questions to those people that want to leave is, what did you put in?
100%. Yep.
What did you put in? And this goes back to any club, and I see this here with our local hunting club. I got it here on my shirt, Widgie Caribou Hunters and Anglers. And there's some members of that just, I was mentioning to someone the other day, there's one particular member, and he's pretty new to it all. He'd be one of the first people I asked to go hunting if I just want to go on a casual hunt, because he's the first one to put his hand up to help. He's the last one there cleaning up. He comes to all the events and he lives the furthest away.
Yeah.
But the more, he's put in so much. So, more than willing to, I'm not saying I don't help others either, but it's definitely nicer helping someone who is doing these things in being involved in clubs without expecting anything in return.
Absolutely. I think, like you said, what you have to put something in to get something out of it. And there's a lot of joy in doing that too. Like, that's sometimes when you're sort of, not that it's in the trenches, but when you're doing the work with people, that's when you get to bond a little bit and you share the load, and, you want to do more with the people that are contributing to an organisation rather than the ones that are just sitting around waiting for it to all be given to them. I mean, in my journey, like with the Australian Hunters Club, there's the option to host a hunt where you can, as you know, invite people to come along and go out for a hunt with you. When I first joined, I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm going to host a hunt because, I mean, yeah, sure, we can go wander around the bush together, but I'm still acquiring my knowledge and happy to impart it once as I gather it. And even, so quick detour, but when even when I took out Rhiannon from the ABC, I said to her, so long as this is not an educational thing, because I mean, I know quite a bit of stuff now that I've acquired, but I'm not presuming to be a teacher in this space or an expert in this space. You can come out, we can go in the bush and I can, share things that I've learned, but I'm not going to be teaching or instructing. I'm not like, proclaiming to do that. But anyway, so through the Australian Hunters Club, I knew I couldn't host a hunt, but I did a couple of pub dinners and I volunteered at the expo and the Wild Deer Expo, but then also the Mansfield Hunting and Fishing Expo, because that's ways in which I can give of my time to the club, and then in return there's benefits that I get. And it's the same with the ADA. I've now volunteered to be on the committee and happy to make badges, and I've got all sorts of ideas. I'm trying not to do too much all guns blazing, but I really like investing in the things that I care about. And I think often some people, they're like, oh, I'm not getting anything out of it, but if they're not putting themselves into it either, then that's not really surprising.
I think that applies to everything in life.
Definitely.
Work, sport, any hobby you want to take on. I think that the majority of my friends, I'm going to say 95%, now have come from the hunting community. And I had a young fella at work the other day, he's an apprentice working for one of the other mobs. And he's only 17 or something, and he was going out with his mates. That's right, it was Friday. He was going out with his mates from school who he hasn't seen. And I said, oh, you're still friends with many friends from school? He said, yeah, all of them. Mm. And I remember at some point in my life, I was like, I don't really have anything in common with those people I went to school with. Mm. And you start to drift away from that. And then that's when I've sort of accumulated and found this circle of friends that now my best friends, they all have come from this hunting community. Yeah,
I've met some great people in my journey as well. So I think it's
have
really
you met
nice.
Any bad ones?
You know what? Through I've come across people that I'm like, I don't want to be. I would not choose to be friends with you, but not as in like when volunteer at the expo, like you get some interesting characters come up and have a chat. But no, through my sort of, I would say not official channels, but through the clubs that I've joined, I've not met anyone that I just thought, nah, you're a bad egg. I'm not. I don't want to know you. There's some people that I get along more than others, just like anywhere in life. You find your people, and there are some people that you really like and some people that you're like happy to be around, but not going to be besties with. But no, all pretty good experiences, yeah.
With the article, I've been trying to think about how to word this question. I don't really know how, so I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
I think it got shared better because there was a female on the front. I think it had a much larger, wider spread impact. And I just want to ask, how do I even say it? Barriers to entry into the hunting industry being a female. Have you found it's been like you can't even compare because you're not a male, but how do what's your experience being a female starting in industry?
Yeah. So, because people have asked me this before, like, what's it like? And so sometimes I will be at a meeting and I remember one of the ADA meetings that I went to, there was probably like 70 blokes there and the percentage of women was me. Like, absolutely, it is male dominated. But for me, I think it's like a lot of things in life, whatever you look for, you will find. And if I looked for reasons to feel like I was unwelcome because I'm female, you could probably find it. But also if I look for reasons that people are including me, I'll find that. And so one example is I remember being at one meeting, I think it was maybe like the second time I was there, this is at the ADA, and I walked in and a few people were there sort of chatting and stuff, and no one came up and said hi. I had met a few people before, but I think they maybe weren't there when I arrived this particular time. And I absolutely could have been like, oh, I'm a woman, they don't want to talk to me. But I don't like to make that assumption. Everyone has a different like different skills around social skills and how they can interact with people. Some blokes don't know how to talk to women. I'm not going to assume that, like that's anything offensive. But anyway, in this moment, I was like, well, I have also not approached anyone, so I'll just go and chat to someone. Went over, found someone, was like, hey, how are you new here too? And they're like, yeah, this is I think it was their first or second time. And I'm like, oh, great, me too. And like, blah, 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 have a chat. I think everyone has personal responsibility for deciding how they show up in an area and also keeping their own emotions and perceptions in check. Obviously, there's some differences of what my experience would probably be to men. So in terms of, I want to be a part of a community. I like to have friends in the activities that I do. And my pool of people to make those friends in is predominantly men. It's not like there's men and women and I just want to be friends with the blokes. Like, that's my option. Like, it is a bunch of blokes, and that's fine. I remember when I went to my first camp with the ADA, the first camp with Australian Hunters Club was awesome as well. I definitely felt extremely welcome there. There was 8 of us, and we were out in Razorback Hut, which was really cool. But I arrived in the daytime then, so that was cool. We had, chats set around the fire and stuff. But this other camp, my first ADA camp, I arrived at about 9:30 at night, went in through like this bumpy entryway. So I accidentally pressed my horn as I was arriving. So I'm like, beep, oh, hey everyone.
That was my entrance.
That was my entrance. And I rock up and there's probably like 20 blokes sitting around the fire. I had met a few before, but there was heaps of new people and stuff. And a few people were like, oh, like, good on you for coming out. But it didn't feel weird to me. I was like, this is a space I want to be in, and no one has told me that it's not for me. It's not like there's hunting and women's hunting and that's the one I'm meant to be in. It's hunting and anyone can go to it. It just happens to attract more men, and that's fine. I would love to encourage more people to get into hunting, but anyone that's interested in hunting, not specifically just targeting women. But I guess my point, if I was talking to anyone about hunting, what my journey is like, it's that go in open-minded, and I guess don't try and, I've not wanted to change the space or say that you've got to do this, this, and this for me to feel welcome. I decide whether I'm confident enough to be in that space or not. And I feel that I am. No one has said, oh, what are you doing here as a woman? A lot of people are like, oh, good on you, love. And I mean, some people even have a problem with being called love. I don't. I am lovely. Call me love. That's fine. I don't need men to change who they are or change how they behave for me to feel welcome. And if I did, then that's for me to solve and work out and remedy myself, not to begrudge an organisation that's running how it is already. And it's the same with, there's a few people that have made comments about, some blokes don't want the drama. They don't want women. They don't want this. And I'm like, mate, if you don't want to be friends with a woman, if you don't have the capacity for that, don't befriend women. Like, don't get your knickers in a twist. It's not that hard to figure out. I don't want to be friends with everyone either. So it's, I don't know. Anyway, I think I've gone off on tangents to your original question, but it is possible that it probably is true that the article was shared more because it's female, but that's like a lot of things in life. If something pops up that's unusual, people are intrigued by it. So
I think that Rhiannon did a good job in choosing that particular photo, and I'd be interested to know whether she just personally liked that photo more than, one of Wally or one of Pete or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I think that'll really, especially coming from the ABC news channels and Landline, really challenge some of their regular watchers who, might see hunting as a purely male-dominated sport, and they're like, hold on, there's a female with a firearm. Yeah. That goes against what I kind of picture in my mind as the stereotype. Yeah. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Yes.
And hopefully so. And it's certainly not like I'm trailblazing at all. There are some amazing women that are in the hunting realm. So Emma Sears is one of the speakers that was at the ADA weekend, and she was fantastic. She's been hunting for a number of years and is a really great example. And there's heaps of others that, have been doing it for a really long time. So it's not like I'm coming along being like, I'm the first to do this. But, I think it is uncommon or less common. So it's fine if that causes intrigue.
So be it. One name that I remember from back in the day, and I don't know where she's gone actually. I should try and find out. But Christy Pisani is her name, and she actually competed it was in Texas in a huntress, Heart of the Huntress, I think it was called, competition. And she was from Queensland. She was a bow hunter, and she ended up on the project. And old Waleed gave her a bit of curry on there about she's a paramedic and was saying, how can you save lives but take lives? But the way she handled herself in that interview was just, it was great. It was great for the industry. But that, she made it. If there was an Australian male overseas competing in that course, there'd be no interest in that from the project.
Yeah.
But
you know what? It's always, these things are supply and demand. You can't control what people are interested in or what they'll pick up on it. But if you do have the opportunity, I was presented this opportunity to be involved in something that I care about. I'm not going to assume that I'm just there because it's token because I'm female. Maybe that is part of it or part of the agenda or whatever. But if at the end of the day it promotes something that I love and I'm able to contribute to it positively, why would I not be involved? It just makes sense.
Just makes sense. I want to circle way back to something you mentioned, and it was that you went on your first hunt where you were successful and you were with someone who was ADA related. But you asked me today, you're like, what are we going to talk about? And for me, I really enjoy hearing stories where you get to recount the emotions that you actually go through. Because to me, I don't remember the first time I shot something particularly. I don't remember the first time I handled a dead animal of some capacity. I think it was probably a chicken at Mum and Dad's when we killed some chickens. But, I'm always intrigued at the way people who have just come into the sport, maybe later in life, like yourself. You said you've grown up in a farming industry or farming family and things, so I'm sure death's probably not new to you. But how did that feel the first time you physically yourself shot an animal?
Lots of emotions, none that I would label as negative. They're just all relevant and necessary. So my first time that I was successful, I guess I'll set the scene for you. It was early in the morning, probably a couple 100 meters off a fire track. Was walking along and saw a hind grazing just down a gully and up on the opposite face, and it was fantastic. She was actually completely in the open. So as opposed to in the past when generally it's, just a tiny little part and I'm potentially out in the open. But anyway, I was hidden by some trees, which gave me the opportunity to sit down and get into a really stable position. For my first shot, that was really comforting. I felt that I was certain that I would take an ethical shot because I was able to see the full vital area. I was able to get into a stable position and then really calmly take a shot. I already know that I won't take a running shot where I am in my journey. I don't feel proficient enough to do so. And I've decided that well before I go out into the bush, what I will or won't do, what I will or won't shoot. And that's not just in terms of the setting is in I won't take a running shot, but I also wouldn't take a shot if the hind had a baby. There's certain things that I just won't do. So in this scenario, it was perfect conditions for me. Took my shot, waited 10 minutes or so, then went to follow up. Within probably 10 more minutes, found the hind. She would have only probably travelled 30 metres from where I shot her to where she laid to rest. And then you obviously go on to the process of starting to harvest the meat, and it felt right because I already knew why I was doing what I'm doing. I knew that this animal was peacefully living in the bush, and then very quickly after that was dead at peace. That it hadn't been farmed. She hadn't been farmed at all. There was no, transport trauma, getting trucked around. So that I felt a sense of satisfaction in knowing where this particular meat was going to come from. I felt a great deal of gratitude because the necessary exchange to consume meat is that an animal will die. You're forced to face that reality when you hunt. You can't pretend that it's just meat. It's an animal that then becomes meat. And so there's a real, I guess, respect to the process when that happens. And there is a measure of sorrow because of that necessary exchange. You can't avoid it. You have the animal right in front of you. But I feel as though if I'm going to consume meat, I can't ignore that fact. And I am going to consume meat. So, that was sort of the main emotions that I felt. And then, there was a carry out, and I felt all sorts of other emotions on the way out, falling down down wombat holes and sort of climbing up some pretty steep faces that felt a lot longer on the way out than they did on the way in. But it's all part of it.
How much of your courses and education do you think you remembered at the time when you were there cutting up?
Some of it was as I went, I remembered certain things. So in the courses that I had done, it was animals that had been shot a few days before, so they were cold. And so I wasn't sure how it would feel with an animal that was warm. That was one thing that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to feel until I get there. But when I did, it was fine. It didn't feel all that different. There was a lot less blood than I expected, which was what it was. But that was interesting. Some of it I just had to kind of slow down and just think about what I was doing. Simple things like there were certain ligaments to cut through that it felt like bone, and then I realized I had to actually press harder to make the cut, and then it was like, okay, that's a learning experience of how much pressure that you need to use to achieve a particular part of the butchering. But it was fine. I got through it all, and I think every time so I've done some other butchering, so in the course prior, and then so since that as well, I've done some like breaking down of legs and things at other opportunities, and every time you do it, I think you learn more and more, and you'll become more efficient. I think that field butchering was probably the slowest that I'll probably ever do in my life because it was new.
And you were learning as you're going.
Yeah,
I think the lack of blood one is interesting. I hadn't considered that, but it's definitely not what you picture. Well, not what you see on movies or anything. If anyone's butchering things on Hollywood, there's always blood flying everywhere. But from a hunting point of view, essentially the animal generally has fully bled out internally, especially with a good heart or chest lung shot. That whole lung cavity just fills with blood. Obviously, there's still some blood in the meat and in the veins, but people picture. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, it was his first animal he'd shot, and he shot it in the head, which is fine. It's a good shot. And then we went to take the back leg off straight away, and he cut the femoral artery, and it sprayed him because it was like we were like, within 30 seconds we were on top of the animal and started cutting in less than a minute. So that's what people picture, but that's actually not realistic usually. And that was just because the heart was still pumping. Yeah. But generally, where did you shoot? Just in the chest somewhere? You happy with shot placement?
Yeah, absolutely. Like through the shoulder. So.
What caliber do you shoot?
I have 308.
Yep. And you're happy with that? Is it?
I love it. Yeah. Got a Sauer Classic 100, 308. I was convinced prior to buying this rifle that I was going to get a Tikka, a camo wrap Tikka 308. I don't know why. That was just like, that seems like a good hunting gun. But then when I went into the gun store, Melbourne Gunworks, they're excellent, very helpful. So I went in there and held the Tikka, and it just felt empty. It was just like this hollow, and nothing against them. I'm sure they're fine as a gun, but for me, it just didn't feel right. And then one of the guys in there suggested the Sauer, and I was like, I'll have a look. Why not? And as soon as I held it, I was like, yep, like this has a heart. Like this is
this
is my hunting rifle. I just knew, and it was great, and I've loved it ever since.
The emptiness that you describe, I know exactly what you feel, what you felt. And to me, I own one. I'm not going to complain about it, but it feels like a beach cricket bat.
Yes. Yes. It feels hollow. I'm like, like I'm sure if I smashed it on something, obviously I wouldn't, but like it feels like it would just like ting. Like
they're definitely stronger than you think, but they have that feeling.
Yeah,
and then that comes into play when you're doing, recoil and things on larger calibers.
Yes.
Bit extra weight.
Exactly. So I'm, obviously it's a little bit more for the guns as I'm going around, but it's fine. Like it. Yeah.
What did you do with the meat on that one? So you had someone with you, or they turned up? Were they with you for the whole hunt?
They were with me for the whole hunt. Yeah, so they helped. I put the back straps in my backpack. We took one leg each, so that was actually very helpful to get the meat out. Yeah, took it up to the fire track and then walked back to my car from there, drove back down and picked it up and then drove back.
Yeah, imagine doing it all by yourself. Like, it'd be multiple trips type.
Well, it would have been 2 trips, but I could have probably done one leg. Nah, I think
that's a lot.
I think it would have been 2 trips, or it would have been like, it would have been 2 trips.
I think it would have been 2 trips for me too. One of the new fellas in our local club here just shot a Sambar the other week, and that was, I think someone was saying, it's the second bullet he's fired out of that gun at an animal.
Yeah, right.
And both of them were at that Sambar.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy as his first animal. And then he had it on the ground, and then he's like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
He said that one of the boys has suggested I get him on to have the chat, so I won't tell his full story, but he said that all his research leading up to it was how to find animals, how to find them, where do I look, what am I looking for? And none of his research was, what do I do after I shot one?
Yeah. And obviously that's so important, right? You need the whole journey. And there's a lot you can learn in the classroom that you're still going to sort of revise once you're out in practice, and you're going to forget things, and then each time you're going to learn new things or whatever. But you can't stop at the trigger pull. Like the end part of the process is very important too.
It is. And Sambar, obviously the biggest deer species we have in Australia. So to shoot one of those as your first ones is, it's only downhill from there. If you shoot a fallow, you'll be throwing the whole thing on your backpack.
Yeah. Oh, easy.
Have you got any trips coming up planned?
Yeah, so next weekend I've got a trip with my ADA branch. So we'll head away up to the high country there, and hopefully be successful. But I actually, it's not like I'm blasé and I'm like, I don't care if I get a deer. It's just that's not my only objective. I just love being in the bush. It's time in the bush is never wasted, and every time I'm out there, I'll find something new, something interesting. I'll find a new plant species I've never seen, or just listen to the birds. I never come back feeling worse than what I went in. I just love being out there. So it's and the camps are great as well, just for camaraderie, networking, having some chats. I want to try and make bread. I've been getting into bread at the moment, like in the oven, but I want to try and cook it on the campfire. So that's going to be one of my experiments. I'm going to make up a few batches of dough and try and get some good bread.
Are you a sourdough person? Have you got a starter?
It's not sourdough, no. It's flour, yeast, salt, and water. That's it. You don't have to knead it. It's so easy and it's so delicious.
You can use, like if you picture the tin that corn comes in, larger, not a bit bigger than a beer can.
Yeah.
And you take the lid off that and you actually cook it in the coals, and you make little individual ones, and then you pop them out, and everyone's got like little.
A great idea.
Little dinner rolls.
Maybe I'll experiment with that too.
Yeah, you need lots of little cans.
I'm going to be like a bread scientist and like making all different things.
I think you just answered. I was going to ask you, and I said this a few episodes ago. It's going to be my new question I ask everyone, and I've failed to do that because I've forgotten on a few. But what do you consider a successful hunt?
So a successful hunt, it would be that I either come home with an empty casing or empty hands. So I don't want to take a shot that's not successful. I'm happy to come out with no deer. That's no worries. And just not in any conflict of how I've behaved, how I've conducted myself while I'm away. So, just making sure I know why I'm there, what I'm doing, and stay in alignment with that. If I see deer, great. If I shoot a deer, great. If I see no deer, great. Those sorts of things don't indicate success for me. So long as I've done it all legally and ethically, that's fine by me.
That's a good answer. I like Thanks. That. I'm not at the I don't know. It's partly because the hunting part is business as well, but it's, we get paid on success, and success is harvesting animals from a guiding point of view. It's education hunt's very different, but I like what you said earlier, and Chris Waters, he brought it up when I had the podcast with him about different styles of guided hunts, and some you may just pay to go and shoot something, and there's some places that offer that, and then there's others that do the educational side of things, and I think it's very important and interesting that people make it clear from a client point of view as to what you expect.
Yes.
Because as a guide, our job is to find an animal and then get you to harvest it.
Yes.
But if you're looking to get more out of it and we don't know that, it's very hard to deliver that.
It's such a good point. And I'm only sharing my perspective of what I want and what's important to me. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of the styles of guiding, any styles of hunting. Like if you want to use rifles or bows, or if you want to trophy hunt, or if you want to harvest meat, or I do think that if you trophy hunt, you should also harvest meat. But there's so many ways that you can go about hunting and so many motivations you can have for it. I think, despite the fact that I'm finding things quite positive and that seems to be a changing light there, I think that there is enough criticism from the outside in. I don't think we need to be fighting amongst ourselves about different styles of hunting or what's right or wrong or otherwise. I think, so long as what you're doing is ethical and legal, fill your boots. I don't have anything to say about anyone else's choices, but for me, the hunt itself is really important. So, and same with, if you're spotlighting on private land because you want to harvest meat for your freezer, cool, that's great. I wouldn't find a sense of satisfaction in that, because for me, part of it's the patience that comes with the stalk, with the whole process of it. That is something that I care about, and that I want to get out of it. But, everyone has their own motivations, and that's cool. Like, that's actually really interesting.
Right at the start, you said your background was long range precision rifle sort of things.
Yeah. I did that for about... Oh, sorry. Go.
Yeah, no, you go. Sorry.
I was going to say, I did that for probably about a year before I decided to get into hunting.
There's a interesting part of the community that frowns upon long range hunting.
Yes, yeah.
And whether you've come across it or not, what are your thoughts on that, and how, you said that you'd be happy to take something up to, 300 meters or so, but, guys shooting 700, 800 meters, and then the general consensus is, oh, that's not hunting because the animal had no idea you were there. And my rebuttal to that before you get to answer is the ideal archery hunt is getting to sub 30 without the animal knowing you're there.
Yes.
So, is it the same, but at a different skill set? The skill set's in the shooting, less so in the stalking.
Yeah. So it still just comes back to me, if it's legal and if it's ethical. If you're not proficient enough to take a shot over that distance, then no, I don't think that's great, because it's fundamentally not ethical. But if you can do it, and if that's the way that you enjoy to shoot, and if you, by stalking up on an animal, spook it and then it ends up not being as proficient, then maybe that's not as good. I don't think it's inherently wrong to do long range hunting, so long as you know what you do. Like, so long as you're good enough to do it, go for it.
I think their issue is the word, calling it hunting, as opposed to long range shooting at a live target.
Yeah. Yeah. Righto. I don't know. It's not something I guess I've thought about a lot. It's not something I want to do either. So, I don't have probably a strong opinion on it, but I don't know. There's people doing all sorts of, weird and wonderful things that are not representing the hunting industry well, or the hunting community. I don't think the long range hunting is
one of them.
I don't think that's one of them.
On that topic, there's some comments that came about from your article where it was on the Landline specific page when they shared that they were going to have it as the TV episode. And, you know, a lady commented about why do we need to kill animals in this day and age or something, was along those lines. And the comments from hunters, inverted commas, one particularly, you know, I think his word was F-tard, you know, called her whatever and just blasted her for not understanding what we do and why we do what we do. And I commented and just said, like, I think that's a terrible answer also. As hers might be from our point of view, but I think his answer was worse. I think navigating negative comments, and my comment back was, he said that she would believe whatever she reads. I said, okay, well, give her something to read.
Yeah.
Give her some facts and figures.
Yeah.
That's my way of dealing with those sorts of comments, is just like, okay, I can understand why you might think that we waste the meat. However, X, Y, Z, here's a picture of my cool room and my kids enjoying some sausages we made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the thing though, like I think sometimes people do get very defensive, and the way that they respond does more damage than good. And I feel no need to try and convince anyone of anything. Absolutely happy to share perspectives. And if someone is curious and willing to consider another point of view, then excellent. Some people aren't, and that's okay too. I'd rather spend my energy interacting with the people that want to discuss and consider what hunting is all about. But yeah, I don't think we're going to, help our cause by criticising other people or getting butthurt because someone doesn't like what we do.
I think some of my best conversations over the years have been with people like that lady. I'm not going to say that she's one of them, but, you know, when you get to really sit down and understand why they think what they think, something happened in their past or something, or it's quite often a misconception. Oh, we thought that hunters do this. And yes,
absolutely.
Let's say that some of them might, but that's not the norm.
Yes.
It's not what we try to achieve, and, for these reasons. So, and I think we need to then be able to sit there and listen to their side though too, and that's what gets forgotten. We all want to tell them why we're right, but let's have a listen to why they think we're wrong.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting. The more you talk to anyone, the more you see that there's interesting facts about every single person on the planet, but also the reason why they believe what they believe is a collection of their own experiences through life. And when you can have that conversation about how they arrived at a particular thought, then there's sometimes an opportunity to add a different perspective that they can take on board. But without knowing how they got there, you've got no potential insights to be able to relate to their experience. So, just making all these assumptions, and we don't like assumptions being made about us. So, let's not do it
both ways.
to anyone else. Yeah.
It goes both ways. I think the whole industry, we're so used to being demonized, I suppose, and made out to be the baddies. A lot of guys go around with their hackles up all the time.
Yeah.
And it's hard to remove that. And, I think finding out where the comment's coming from on the other side is the key.
Yes, absolutely.
And using their own language.
Yep.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks for coming on tonight, Cass. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Dodge.
Learning a bit about you. No, thanks for coming. It's we've spoken a fair bit in the past, but it's nice to have these longer chats and
it is.
See what you're thinking and what you're feeling.
One of my favourite topics, hunting.
Hunting. Well, likewise. Takes up about 92% of my brain capacity.
How good.
So it's an interesting pastime, and I love meeting new people and listening about their experiences. So thanks for sharing yours. I look forward to catching up in the future in the hills somewhere.
Yeah, likewise.
Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.